Hey, this is William Tincup, Ryan Leary. Welcome to The Barf. It's
What's
breaking
going on?
news, acquisitions, research, and funding. Hey, Ryan, how are you doing?
I'm all good, man. It's bright and early
Huh?
on a Sunday morning. You've got me awake
Yeah,
again.
it's, hey.
Third week in a row.
I think this is my favorite show. I mean, I like all the other shows, but this is,
Mhm.
I think, because you and I just go back and forth
Yeah,
and just kind of hash out different things, stories that you find interesting, because our personalities being so different.
yeah,
It's interesting to find out what's interesting to you versus what's interesting to me. So why don't we jump right into it? What do you want to start with something?
yeah. Let me pull up my list here. I don't have a
Okay.
great memory like you. You go off memory, so I'm just gonna. I
Well,
want to. So all right. So I want to kick off with, and I want to join the cliche or the cliche. I want to say whatever, however you want to say it. The robots are coming for our jobs, right? But actually, it's true this time, right? Like,
yeah,
so
yeah, I saw that.
yeah. So there's a company called Nuo Robots. So it's a Silicon Valley based company shop. They've been working on what they call digital employees. Okay, so it's not a robot where they're gonna be running around your office like the MIT dogs or
Yeah,
something
yeah,
like
yeah,
that.
yeah,
Yeah, it's
yeah.
not going to be that, although that would be pretty badass. So these are digital, right? These are
Right.
digital employees. If you haven't seen this yet, um, think going into McDonald's and they have the big digital ordering kiosk now, right? You
Yeah.
can't get a human.
May
You
I help
order.
you?
Yeah, yeah. So it's not that basic, right? Obviously, but these are that's exactly what it looks like, right? So there's three different options. I think now there is a little robot. It sits on your desk, which kind of looks goofy. But they have a digital, which is like a digital screen with a human head on it, right? Which is pretty cool. And then there's some other options there. But essentially, these are being used currently to
Yeah.
remove all the administrative tasks that you might have in your place of business. So, retail. One of the use cases that I found really interesting was, and you can convey this or parlay this into recruiting and TA however you want. But there's a spa that's currently using this, and this is out. I'm assuming it's out by them somewhere. But there's a spa that's using this as a front desk employee. And so
Right.
when a guest walks in, they are greeted by a screen of a person. I think they're using the screen version. And they check them in, they get them registered, they start them off in the process. But then as they go back into the room, where whatever service and treatment they're getting, when they go back into the room, historically, what the challenge was for this particular salon, as the person undresses, they can't go into the room.
Right.
But there's a number of things that happens that they want to happen while that person is getting prepared in the room, whether it's breathing techniques or how to prepare or what to think about, relaxation
Right.
techniques, things like that. And so now the digital employee is able to do this for that person. And so it walks them through steps, it gets them ready. It takes the place of them not being able to do this, which is really interesting. If you read the article, we'll link it in the notes. It was a VentureBeat article. Um, the numbers on this are pretty staggering, though. So they're saying that the founder of the company says this will replace 300 million entry level jobs. That's a lot of jobs. Now, he's not saying like there's going to be 300 people out on the unemployment lines. This is just going to replace the entry level jobs, and obviously the argument against that is everyone's going to learn the skills to run the software. It'll run business more efficiently, et cetera, et cetera. But I really liked this find this week, and it just took me down a rabbit hole. There's actually a lot of companies already using
Oh, yeah.
this
Oh, yeah.
that we may or
The
may not be aware of.
the interesting thing for me out of all that, because there's a company in New York that does this with AI. They
Mhm.
also call them employees, and they do actuary tables and look for mistakes, and
Right.
then kick the mistakes to a human being, etc. So looking at large amounts of data, and they deploy these as people.
Right.
Like, this is Sandra, and Sandra is going to go through your actuary table and look for mistakes. And you buy Sandra or you buy Billy or whatever the bid is.
Whatever you name it. Yeah.
I find it fascinating because they call them employees. And
Yeah.
so like I'm thinking about the future of that is like, okay, what part of employee are they? Like, do they start
Right.
getting rights? Do they start taking breaks? Or are we just using them? We using the word employee really loosely?
I
But
I I I I think currently it's loosely, yes,
yeah,
but
yeah.
it's an interesting take because at some point, do they take breaks? I know it's goofy. It sounds goofy,
I don't know. I don't
but
know.
who knows, right?
I like that. I like that article. All right, so let me throw you one from
Yeah.
the NLRB, National Labor Relations Board.
Mm,
Home Depot violated labor laws when firing an employee with a Black Lives Matter on their apron. Now, once you dig into the story, it was just the letters BLM, and I don't know how big or whatever, but it was an employee that had written on their Home Depot apron
mm,
BLM. And first of all, I side with the NLRB on this one in the sense of, well, you gave them an apron, and I think about the Office Space and Flair. So that's where it kind of gets
mm.
my mind. Like again, if you want to support BLM, cool. If you don't, okay, don't write it on your apron.
Right.
Like that's also cool. So the use or non-use of flair, again, I kind of think back to Office Space and why do we care? Also, kind of freedom of speech. Like at Home Depot, what I care about is can I find concrete or can I
Yeah.
find a hammer or can I
Can I
find a
get my
drill?
nails and
I
screws and
don't.
all that
I've
shit?
never.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever looked at someone's apron in any detail, much
No.
less caring about a BLM. Now again, firing is in terminations. In some states,
Hmm.
the governing body, you know, the rules around firing, laying off people. Again, if this person is, if this employee that got fired,
Yeah.
if they just weren't doing their job or if it was kind of a riff and you had to let go X number of employees, or they're just a horrible employee, we've all dealt with that. That's one thing. But to fire them because simply they put BLM on their
Yeah.
apron, I think both was unwise, but also, just I think there's recourse for the employee.
No, I didn't. I didn't read. I didn't read the article. Um, but was this a violation of workplace code for
Right.
the uniform?
That's
Is
what
that
they
what they're
that's
saying?
that's what they hid behind. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's just they didn't want politics at work. I mean, again,
Yeah.
you can fire people in the state of Texas. We call it a right to fire state.
You,
Not a
you just
right to
fire.
hire. You don't even have to give a reason.
You just
Like you
fire them.
just yeah, you don't have rights in that way. Now I'm
Yeah.
not saying this is a good thing or a bad thing. I'm just saying it is what it is here in Texas.
Yeah.
Uh, but I think it was really about politics. They didn't want
Mm.
to, in their way, they didn't want to off-put customers, and so a simple BLM sticker or just written with a Sharpie on your apron, if that's going to turn off customers, maybe you have the wrong customers. Like,
Right.
why? Maybe they're emphasizing the wrong things in their life. Like,
Yeah.
I don't unless it's curse words or something like that. Like I can see where something really, really offensive.
There's vulgar. Yeah. Sure. There's a line. Yeah.
BLM, not
Yeah.
vulgar.
Well,
Not
you had,
vulgar at
and
all.
I feel like this is a Texas thing, right? Like you guys always have something going on down there. You have recently, you guys have been in the news for education for
Yeah.
I forget the boy's name, the kid's name, with his hair
Yep.
being suspended for a couple of months, and I was listening to this, and it was just blowing my mind that there's
Oh yeah.
actual
Oh yeah.
hair laws on hair and the length of hair, not the
Oh
type, right?
yeah. Oh yeah.
They put laws into place to
Well,
say
it's
texture
not
is
a
okay.
law. It's within a school district they can put, and again, these are public schools. Private schools,
Yeah.
they have different rules as well. But public schools, I remember being sent home where when I was wearing the wrong, like different T-shirts. Now,
Mhm.
some of that in eighth grade, I was purposely wearing the wrong t-shirts just to see how far I could
I
kind of
don't see
push it.
that ever happening in with you.
So I knew the rules. I'm like, yeah, let's see if this Ozzy Osbourne t-shirt, if no one notices,
Yeah, but hair
this
just
bit.
seems. It just seems. I mean, come on, it's hair.
If that's
Like,
is that really what's getting in the way of education? Like really,
yeah,
the length of someone's
yeah,
hair is getting in
yeah,
the way? No, it's it's again teaching to the test. It's
yeah,
not paying teachers enough money, not having enough assistants in the room, like
yeah.
not dealing with special needs or learning differences. Like there's other legitimate reasons that our education system
To be worried
sucks.
about. Yeah, yeah.
The
So
length of a person's hair doesn't
yeah,
hit the list.
yeah. So, all right. So I've got some big box retail stories, not Home Depot,
Ooh,
but Estee Lauder,
yep.
EasyJet, which is not a big box store, but big company. Anyway, there's 500 companies. Okay, 500 employers in this in this situation in this suit. So not paying people minimum wage.
What?
We're not talking about saying you're not getting a minimum wage, so you're going to get $25 an hour. No, they're not paying them minimum wage, and um,
Do they get
so Estee,
commissions? Do they get like
no,
tips?
no,
Is it one of those
they're just not.
deals?
No, they're not just not getting paid the right amount of money. So, Greg. So the three that were spotlighted was Greg's, Estee Lauder, and EasyJet.
Right.
So three among 500 employers globally, which vowed to pay their lowest paid employees the national minimum wage. Anyway, turns out it comes out to more than $20 million in unpaid wages. Um,
That's insane.
yeah, yeah, I kind of feel like there's these thing called payroll companies that handle this, right?
But
They
yeah,
manage pay, they understand the laws, they understand. There's no excuse for a company, especially
no,
at
they
the
keep you
size of
compliant. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, to not be compliant in a world where these softwares, just throw a dart. There's 90 of them out there, right? That
This wasn't
understand all the local
this
laws.
was this accidental or was this
It
because
depends on who you ask, right? I mean, they
yeah,
were found guilty, right? They're paying that back. They're paying back fines and fees and all of that
right,
stuff.
right.
Um, of course, the spokespeople now, what they say is it was an oversight. It was a mistake in the system. Something
My
was
bad.
input. But
We
across
got caught.
500 companies, yeah, I mean, across 500 companies, that's a hell of a lot of mistakes.
Yeah,
Um,
that sounds more of a conspiracy to me than a mistake. Or it just
yeah.
sounds like again, like when you look at payroll, you've got federal laws, you've got state laws, or employment law in
Hmm.
general. You've got federal, state, and then you've got municipal. So these payroll liability libraries that go on in ADP or Ceridian or iSoft or
Yeah.
whatever, they keep track of the
Yeah.
changes. So
There's no excuse anymore.
no, it's all digital. Like Seattle changes if they change as a city, a municipality, if they change the minimum wage to $18,
Right.
then you have to be compliant. There's a date. You have to be compliant. Now,
By that
to
date. Yeah.
know that, like if again, I think your take on using modern software to handle that stuff to keep not keep to keep up with it, a human being shouldn't be keeping up with that. That's definitely
No,
something software should do.
no.
And yeah, I
I mean,
want
at
to dig into
least,
that story a little bit more because first of all, I I can see companies holding back capital, like not paying people a lot
yeah,
because labor is your largest expense. So I could the cynic in me can
yeah,
see, okay, well this isn't a conspiracy. This is just business owners saying we're going to keep as much money as
yeah.
possible, and if they bitch about it, well, we'll get
I,
other people that won't bitch
I
about it.
could see that. I could see that with 10, 20, 30 person company. We're
Yes.
talking companies that have 100,000 employees. I mean, this is just
No,
stupidity,
that
right? But
that's that's go
here's
ahead.
another issue that comes out of this. And if you kind of if you think about it and you go down and you dig deeper, the the companies that are it's creating a talent gap, right? So there's there's smaller companies out there that are competing with these larger
Hmm.
companies, and they're losing top tier talent to these larger companies
Right.
that are not following the rules,
Yeah.
right? And so, interestingly enough, if you kind of go past the initial article, we'll link it here for you guys. But if you go past that initial article, it does dig into that, and it shows that there is it's part of the lawsuit, and it's part of the I'm sorry the settlement, is that it's not just you're not paying people, you're also creating unfair trade, or however they
Oh, interesting.
termed it, where Estee Lauder has the money to go hire the top tier talent, while the
Right.
other guys can as well, potentially,
So they
maybe
can
not,
lure
right?
them.
You
Yeah.
get
So they
more of
can.
them, but well,
Yeah.
beyond that, they're just not playing by the rules, and so you just because you're big, you don't not get to play by the rules. So they're hammering them, and they're getting them on these with fines and additional fines as well,
Good.
for that. So it's really interesting.
As they should,
Yeah.
as they should. So, in the last story that we kind of talked about from me is the was the Home Depot story. That was actually from AP News. So if you want to dig into the article and dig into the following articles around it, just go to apnews.com and then search for Home Depot and you find it immediately.
Mhm.
Next thing I want to kind of throw at you, Ryan, is the U.S. Justice Department hires its first chief AI officer. For those of you at home doing the scorecards, that's a CAIO, as a as new technology challenges law enforcement. So immediately as I'm reading this, this is on Reuters. So again, if you want to go dig into it, you just go to Reuters.com and then you can kind of search for the article. It's super easy. But it got me to start thinking of, okay, should other organizations, should public or private companies start thinking about hiring another C-suite player? So when if initially you think, okay, yeah, sounds good. Somebody's got to be, like the CIO,
Mhm.
CTO, somebody's got to be thinking about AI all the time now, right? But what it really got me to think about is, okay, where are we going to source this talent? Is this going to come out of academia? Okay, it begs
Right.
the question: is AI siloed? So let's say we hire Tammy as our CAIO. Okay, we hire Tammy as that person. Okay, is AI just play over here in the silo like marketing or finance or ops or any of the silos that we have, HR? Or is silo pervasive throughout everything that we do? Meaning there's an AI component in accounting, there's an AI component, multiple components in accounting, legal, marketing, etc. So what's Tammy? If we have Tammy and she's our CIO, okay, fantastic. How is she keeping track of AI that's distributed through or pervasive or distributed through the entire organization? So it's fascinating. First of all, if the U.S. Justice Department has hired a person for this position, it's legit. Like they do things. Usually, the government is a decade behind private enterprise, corporate interest. So the fact that they've got someone there, that's a tell. Okay, this is actually something we should be paying attention to. But again, okay, you've now got a person. You got Tammy in the C-suite managing all of AI.
Yeah.
Again, your view on AI, is it everywhere? Is it in one place, etc.? How does Tammy do her job? Is fascinating to me. Uh, your thoughts on a CAIO? Where
Well,
you
I
at?
mean, yes. So short answer is yes. It's something that's going to be needed, and actually, I, I'll just jump right into the next story as I answer this or respond back to you here, because it's the Indeed article. I think it was Indeed. It was the
Right.
Indeed article, with
Oh,
where it
about
was,
yeah,
yeah, about the Gen AI skills, um, bringing a 50% salary bump to people.
170 something thousand. Yeah,
174,000. Yeah. So
that's
check this. I
intense.
mean, that's pretty big, right? So tech workers who, and I say tech workers because that's how they labeled it, but I don't necessarily think it's tech workers. You may get classified that way, but
Right.
this isn't anybody worker, right? This is
Agreed.
anybody who is competent in technology, that in AI and technology around AI, they say you can expect roughly
That's
$174,000.
that was the average.
That's the
As I
average. Yeah.
as I read that
Yeah.
report, by the way, that's Indeed.com career
Yeah.
advice. It's the highest. They do this every year. It's the highest paid skills,
Yeah.
and they've been tracking it for a long time. For me, it wasn't shocking. It wasn't shocking that that was the highest skill. So when I looked at
No,
it, the
no, no,
data,
no,
that
no.
was shocking. Okay, so yeah, it's on the AI. But what it got me to think about is generative AI and how long is it going to be before generative AI teaches us generative AI? You know what I'm
It
saying? Like,
probably, I mean, I'm sure it's work. I'm sure it's happening now. I mean, look,
it
moral of
has
the
to.
story is
It has to,
there's
right?
in-demand skills and then there's burger flippers. Get on the in-demand skills, right? a, I'm sorry to the burger flippers out there because I love me some burgers, but AI is the new trade, right? It's the
Yeah,
new trade
right.
school, and it's like, and everyone needs a plumber, right? And everybody always says, get into the trades. You'll always have a
Yeah,
job. You'll make. This is the new trade. I mean,
right.
we all know this, right? This isn't a me thing. This isn't a you. Like, it's common sense at this point, right? AI is a new trade, but for those of you who are curious, where do I go? What do I need to go? What do I need to learn? So I'm going to read this so I don't get it wrong, but they listed out the top 7 skills that they're labeling as trades within AI to know if
Oh,
you're
interesting.
interested. Machine learning,
Yep.
natural language processing, data
NLP. Yep.
science, deep
Yep.
learning, computing, robotics, and problem solving. Those are the 7 key skills that employers will be hiring for or are hiring for today
Right.
in this area.
Yeah.
So how do we
That's
how
right.
do we and there's a huge gap, obviously, right? It's new. But how do we solve this? Teach the kids, right? Got to teach the kids this, get them into the programs as you're picking courses, parents, next year, which we just did this week, which we were not included in because the kids decided to choose their own courses, which they picked complete opposite
Right.
on what I would have picked, by the
Right.
way, if you care. But I
Well,
can tell
now
you it
here's
was
the deal.
nothing around this.
When they complain about not being able to get a job,
Well,
there's your
they're going to complain about it and they're going to be living here. So
no,
I want,
no, no,
I want to
no,
pick
no,
this here.
no, no.
But
You and your wife go get a condo in Tampa. Besides,
yeah,
yeah, there's no
sorry,
room.
you can't.
Sorry,
We're not commutable anymore. Oh, look, there's only one bedroom.
there's
But
no,
so
there's
so
not even a
interesting
couch.
interesting note on this. 1 in 4 developers. Okay, so this is a HackerRank survey.
Yeah,
1 in 4 developers say that their employers do not provide enough upskilling or learning opportunities to help them with AI skills.
yeah, I believe that wholeheartedly.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah,
But they're
they'll provide
hiring
them.
from outside the organization to bring these people in.
Well, again, the cynical side of me says they're not going to upskill them because they don't want to train them so that they can leave. This gets back to a discussion 20 years ago. If we over-index and train people, then they'll leave, or they'll ask for more money. Worse than that.
Yeah, yeah.
But here's the deal: there's too many ways to get upskilled. If you don't do it at work, you can do it at home. You can go on Khan Academy or
Do whatever you
YouTube,
want.
and you can learn. If you want to learn AI, you want to learn generative
Yeah.
AI, you can learn it. I
Yeah,
mean,
that's it.
if the desire is there,
It's interesting you bring that up. So the new robots. I was going to say
hmm
Nuo robots, right? I'm gonna go back to them real quick. So they're the founder. I should probably just get his name, address him by name, but their founder, which is interesting because you just said this as well. Humans are expensive. This is their push, right?
right, right.
Humans are expensive. You can teach them, you can upskill them, you can train them, but they leave tomorrow, and the
The
company is left with the bag of no employee, but I
That's
just
right.
spent 6 months
Robot's
training
not
them.
going to leave you.
Your digital employee is there, it learns, it grows, and it begins to communicate with you and
Well,
provides insight to your business inefficiencies, makes recommendations on, hey, we're doing this in that salon room example,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
We're
yeah,
doing this.
yeah.
But if we did this, we can add some
Oh,
human touch and we can also do this.
I mean that article was terrifying. When I got to the part about cost, So let's say the receptionist again, the spa
Mhm.
receptionist, average salary is $50,000.
Yeah.
Average salary for the bot, the robot, is
25.
$20,000
Yeah, 20
all
to
in,
25. Yeah. And that's, yeah,
all in.
buying the robot and the software.
Yes, and the
Yeah.
software's updated and all of that other stuff.
Hmm.
So, again, now you're dealing with cost. Like again, years ago, we'd look at this and we'd say, "Oh man, that's a great idea, but it's gonna cost $500,000 or whatever." So it's like cost prohibitive. We're not in that world
Yeah.
anymore. It's not cost prohibitive, and oh, by the way, you don't have to worry about it leaving.
No,
So you
no.
train it, and you'll continue to train it. It gets smarter.
Yeah.
So I mean, you're training it, your customers are training it. Okay, it gets smarter, and it's not going to leave. Um,
I want to walk into an office one day and just have nothing but TV faces
yeah.
lying and just be like, what's going on?
Well,
What's going on?
another interesting part of that they didn't mention, but I've seen it in other places, is that it can have facial recognition.
Yeah.
Again, if you
Sure.
teach it to, it can have facial recognition, so that if I walk into that salon, it then knows who I am, and then oh
Right.
by the way, can personalize my entire experience. Start
Right.
playing songs from my Spotify account, all that type of stuff. Like, hey William, how you doing today? Listen, last time you were here, you did X, Y, and Z. Like it can do all that with
Yeah.
tying facial recognition to the
Right.
experience.
Right. Right.
So yeah, that article was fascinating. Make sure we link to that. So I came across I came across a bit. Creative ad agency McKinney developed a quiz game called "Are You Blacker Than ChatGPT?" to shine a
Oh,
light on AI bias. So the URL is just "Are you blacker than ChatGPT.com?" and you take a quiz. And it's I mean, first of all, it is fascinating because it's a quiz. I beat the hell out of Chat GPT. So, uh, but kidding aside, I think it's a
mm,
great way to highlight biases in large language models and AI, and in time generative AI. It's For me, it's a conversation, especially when you're dealing with biases. Like we're talking about all the positive things that come and can come from AI, but we
mhm.
also have to remember human beings are training these things, and human beings have preferences
Yeah.
and biases and all this kind of baggage. So I like, first of all, not just during Black History Month, I like the fact that they built this, and then we're having this discussion like, okay, your biases are there.
Right.
Take a quiz. So definitely go check that out. Are you blacker than chatgpt.com? Take the quiz, and
I
it'll
like
score
that.
you. Yeah,
What
it's
was
it's it's fascinating.
I'm totally blanking on this. The Google thing they just shut down.
No, I don't pay attention. I don't
Oh,
know. I
I
don't
can't
know.
think of it. I don't know why I can't think of it.
Google
It's a fault.
Wave? Did they go?
No,
Did, did,
no,
did they
no,
finally get away with Google Plus?
no.
Is it still
No, Google Plus is good. I was on there. No, I'm just kidding.
what?
I'm just kidding. Yeah, no, that's funny.
No, no, they're gonna keep Google Plus. I did want to talk to you about resumes because I think both of us got this
Yeah.
the live career thing,
Huh?
and so this is basically what live career is, kind of more of a longitudinal study between 2018 2023, and it looked at resumes. And if you go to livecareer.com, you can find the resume changes. And so a couple things from it, there's tons of nuggets. It's actually really worth downloading and pawing your way through it. But long and short of it is that, you know, resumes are longer, two-page resumes. There's more words, there's more sections. People have added more sections
Hmm.
to their resume, different skills, different titles, etc. So 2018, 2023, massive amounts of change. But what it begged me to think about was okay, that makes sense up until the point where someone's not going to, I mean, we both hired, up until the point where someone's not going to actually consume that much content, which made me think of generative AI. So, how does generative AI take the same content, like say you do bolster your resume? How does generative AI cram that stuff down into making it more succinct? So maybe in another 5 years, those resumes were shorter, but more to the point, or more, more personalized to the job clearly, but more succinct so that you don't have to use more words. And so generative AI, you take those words, take that resume and say, okay, highlight the important parts and make it 500 words or 300 words.
Hmm.
And then it becomes smaller, but it's still carrying the same messages.
Eh,
Eh.
eh.
So
Sound effect. Eh.
livecareer.com. Take a look
Resume.
at it. Resumes.
Resume.
Well,
Resume.
resumes.
Resume. We
Uh,
wrote a resume for one of my little ones.
oh
She's
yeah.
going for another job, and she's like, "But in school they said it has to be
Hmm.
on one page." I'm like,
Mm,
"Give
there's
some
no
flying
hashes.
hoot! Just
Yeah, yeah,
get rid of
yeah.
the period. It'll
As
slide up to the page." Like I mean, it's
Yeah,
it's a
change the
resume. Just
borders. Change the borders, honey.
yeah,
Just
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
use a smaller font.
Yeah,
There you
go
go.
with 11.5. So, all right, I've got one for you. This has absolutely nothing to do with anything other than the, well, maybe it does, other than the fact that I saw this and I thought you would like it.
Oh, I got one of those. Yeah.
So I'm gonna
What
I'm
do you
gonna
got?
put it out there. So Walmart acquired Vizio.
Yep.
Vizio, the TV maker.
Yeah.
And so people might say, why
Hmm.
did Walmart acquire Vizio? Well, it took
Vertical
me
integration.
Yeah, well, yeah, and it took me a while to figure out. I'm reading this and I'm thinking, huh, that's pretty interesting. And like,
They're not going to be selling anybody else's TVs. That's why.
so there, I don't. You might know. I don't know about this, but the
Yeah.
retail media networks. There are retail media networks,
Yeah.
right? So Vizio has its own streaming and smart stream and all that stuff.
Right.
Walmart is now in that business. They've been, but right now they're in that business. But the key here is that they actually, and it's actually obviously serious business because they spent like billions of dollars on this.
Right.
Um, they get closer to their customers, right?
Oh,
So
100%.
Vizio has its own apps. Vizio has its own stream. Vizio has its own um, media network within the TV itself. When you purchase them, right, you turn it on and you get all this stuff, and you have all these apps and this and that.
Right.
Well, Walmart's now there, right? That is now Walmart,
Well, they can personalize that too
and they
to
can
the person by
personalize that.
all the
The
way
ad
down to
net,
the IP address. Yeah.
right? The ad network reaches through to it, the whole bit, right? So now all the ads are more personalized, and
Oh, yeah.
it's right there. But so for those who are like, well, why the hell would William care? William used to work at Walmart, so
Sorry.
that
Yeah.
I
What's
saw it. I
vertical?
was like,
They did
I
that.
got to talk about this.
They did that when I was there. They bought McLean, which is a small distribution
Hmm.
for convenience stores, and they bought McLean. So they've been in the vertical integration business for a long time, and so
Yeah.
this makes sense. So what impact outside of what you've already discussed? They're going to be using Vizio, and if like Vizio used to be a big brand at Costco, and it isn't anymore. Hisense is now that van for
Hi, right.
that is that brand for Costco. But when you go into a Walmart or regular traditional Walmart, they're just going to have Vizio TVs. They're going to have every Vizio TV. They're not going to carry
Yeah.
Sony and Samsung and all these other things. It's like they're just going to be pushing that product because it's in their best interest.
Right.
So
Vizio is already their highest purchased TV
yeah,
that globally
it's a
throughout
good
Walmart.
TV.
Yep, I have
It's a
one.
good
Yeah.
TV.
Yeah.
It's a good TV. You can't break it. Like it'll last forever. It's like Toyota.
Yeah.
Like you're not going to kill it. On the acquisition news, I got two things that I want to run through you real
Yeah.
quick. One is Timeforge Labor Management acquires Survey Connect, kind of a feedback and assessments platform. So what's that? So Timeforge is a people operations business, and Survey Connect is 30 years of expertise in surveying and things like that. So it's got huge libraries, onboarding, the surveys, surveys for every kind of point in the employee experience.
Hmm.
And Timeforge customers are going to benefit from that because they don't have those things with Timeforge. So it's a great pickup. Whenever you see an acquisition, some of them kind of you tilt your head like a dog and go, I have no idea why they did that. This is one, and the next one makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
So you can, if you want to find out more information on that, just go to timeforge.com, go to their press section, and it gives you a release and quotes from the presidents and all that type of stuff. But I think it's good for the customer. I mean, if we just look at an acquisition, we say, okay, how does this help the customers of Timeforge? Clear. Now, the next one is Podium
Yeah.
acquires Untapped. So
Untapped.
Untapped is a kind of early stage career advice and sourcing, does all kinds of kind of cool things, and has been for years. And Podium works with students. So this is again, it's a good match from the perspective of, okay, Podium's focused on students and Untapped's focused on early careers. Now they can kind of, and there's probably not a lot of overlap in those two things in terms of features or functionality, but now they can get those students prepped for what's next. So using Untapped to then do what it does best. So you know, those two acquisitions I want to just call out and go, hey, these are good acquisitions for the end user or the customer.
Yeah, I like Untapped. I mean,
Yeah.
I like that play. I think that's gonna have. I think that's interesting. I'm curious to see where that goes. And I miss Untapped. We haven't talked to
So
people there.
I found just as you found the story with Walmart, I found this story interesting. It's something that you should definitely go and look at. It's
Oh yeah,
layoffs.fyi.
yeah.
Okay, so if you're interested in learning about layoffs, go to layoffs.fyi. And I know it sounds a little bit dark, but it's really good reporting because they have graphs, they list the companies, they have Google Docs with employees that were affected, so you can use it as a sourcing tool. You can go and find that talent, etc. So and again, it's showing statistically where the layoffs are happening, what industries are being impacted, how they're being impacted, who's being impacted, which is really, really fascinating. And again, in a very transparent manner, just here, these
Yeah,
folks were impacted. Let's get them back to work. So I think as a recruiter, someone that's in the
it's a good
talent
list.
game, it's a great source
Yeah.
to find talent. Like, hey, these people are fresh. They've been let go. There's been a parting of ways, whatever you want to phrase that.
Mm-hmm.
And oh, by the way, here's the industry. Here's our LinkedIn profile. Go. Let's
Go
get them
look
back.
at
Let's
them.
get them back to work.
Yeah, I love it. I love that. There's a number of individuals that post stuff like that, but it's nice that
Right.
it's actually on a site being tracked for people and for
Yeah. Yeah.
whatever use it is. I think it's a good tool that's out there. So I've got one I wanted to talk about. I called this one equity at global scale. Fancy
Yeah.
way
Yeah.
to say that. So the London Stock Exchange Group upped and changed its parental leave. Now,
Hmm.
to majority of the people in the world, they're going
Right.
to be like,
Yeah.
"Yeah, it makes complete sense." But
Yeah.
here in the U.S., they're going to be like, "What the like? What
Yeah.
20?" So we get 12 weeks. I think it's 12 weeks, right? 12 weeks,
Yeah.
and then you can take unpaid time. I think when I was at IBM, I've got 2 weeks total, like for parental leave, something like
Right.
that. Um, so the London Stock Exchange has taken their parental leave to 26 paid weeks globally. So
That's
they've
half a
got
year.
what's
So
that?
6 months. That's half a year. It's
It's half
six
a year.
months.
Yeah, it's half a year, which is just phenomenal. Now, there's 25,000 employees, 30,000 employees globally for London Stock Exchange. So this just doesn't affect like a
Oh, okay.
small group of people, right? This
This
is
isn't
big.
just people in the UK. This is
No,
anybody that works for.
this is
Oh,
globally, right? They're across 65 countries and
interesting.
30,000 people, right? So what's interesting here is, well, one, it's just fantastic, right? It's a hell of a move for recruiting. But the leave itself is gender neutral. Okay.
Right.
So it means it applies to all parents, moms, dads. I wasn't able to find, and I did message out, that didn't hear back. If mom and dad both work at the company, can they both take it at the same time? I'm assuming yes,
Or they get six
because
months.
they get
Or
6 months
could.
apiece.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That tracks for me.
Yeah, so I'm
That's actually, they
assuming.
both get 6 months.
Yeah,
They
yeah,
can use those 6 months at different times.
yeah. Now
Um,
this is gender neutral, right? So both
right, right,
parents.
right, right, right,
The added cherry on top here, if the employee lives in a region, so let's just say you live in, I don't know, you live in India, and your region allows for 36 weeks,
right.
you get 36 weeks.
You get
So
whatever's the
you
top
get
end.
your the top end of your region. Exactly. Yeah.
That's
So
smart.
so it got me
So
thinking. I'm like,
before you have a baby, move to the region that has the highest.
yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
right. Like,
I
why
think
not? Right. So,
I
so
think
it got me
Canada.
thinking. Like, how bad are we in the U.S. compared? Which we just
Oh, we're horrible.
we're
Let's just
awful, right? We are just downright
dude,
awful with this.
dude, we're just yeah. Get back to
So
work. You got 2 weeks.
yeah,
What?
so
Oh, you might not have
yeah,
your job when you get back.
bad enough that the hospital pushes you out in 2 days, let
Oh yeah.
alone
Oh
come
yeah.
back to work in 2 weeks. So I went and I looked and I went to see where do we rank, and obviously we're at the bottom, literally
Oh,
the bottom,
100%.
right? Austria, you get 2.5 years,
Yeah.
right? Not
I
full
think
pay, right? There's
right, 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 right.
graduated pays, right? Germany, you get guaranteed daycare slots for children over the age of 1, plus your leave and all that stuff. Sweden, you get they call it a shared, it's a shared pool of 480 days for both mom
Yeah.
and dad.
Oh, that's cool.
Lithuania, dad gets 30 days and an additional 36 months shared at 100% per year for the first year,
Right.
70% for the remaining 2 years.
Where was Canada? Do you remember where Canada was? Because I know
Uh,
theirs is much better than ours.
it's
I don't
wherever it's at is much higher than the US.
100%. No,
But it's just
I
like it's insane, right? I think it's time that we,
well
here in the
again,
US make a change.
and everyone fought the Family Leave Act. That's the current
Yeah.
thing. That's just when it came up, people were like, "No, this is going to hurt business." It's like you look around the world, like it doesn't hurt business. It inspires
It is, yeah.
loyalty,
Yeah, it
and
inspires loyalty, and in a lot of the countries that I mentioned, and among others, um, do this as well. Well, one, because it's just the right thing to do, but
right,
two, they do it because they want to incentivize childbirth, because
hundred
childbirth is
percent.
down significantly globally
Yep.
across the country, which the reasoning, out of all the reasons, the reason was economic, number
Yeah.
one,
How
and
am I going to pay for this? Yeah.
how am I going to pay for it exactly? And in specifically in the U.S., and I don't know if this was, I mean, the economic was globally, but this particular quote was from someone specific in the U.S. where they just said, "I don't want to bring my child into the world the way it is today," which goofy for me. I don't
It
see
is,
that.
that's lame
Yeah,
from my experience because the world's always. I mean, first of all,
it's
that's
never
just
been
if you
fantastic, right?
no, if you want to, if you
Yeah,
don't want to have a kid, you just don't want to have a kid. Like, hey,
right.
I got that. That's cool.
Yeah,
I don't. I'm one of those people. Jokes aside, that some people shouldn't be parents.
yeah.
Like, I think that we test people to have a driver's license. So why don't we test people to have babies?
Yeah,
Like
seriously.
you should be able to test
I
into.
may
So
not have passed that test, but I have
all
really
I'm saying,
good.
no, all I'm
Really
saying,
good.
no, y'all are great parents. No, I'm just saying, some people should not actually have kids. This is
Yeah.
not that. All right, so Ryan, you get asked the question all the time, as I do. How do I recruit and retain talent? So,
Have better parental leave.
what's the number one thing that would trigger the recruitment and retention of talent? What do you think it is?
I don't know. I feel like this is a trick question.
It is. Nearly nearly 73% of employees would be inclined to stay at their employer or go to an employer if offered better health insurance. So
Mm.
tied to the story of FMLA, this is health insurance. So we get asked these questions. I'm sure people listening to the podcast get asked this question, like, how do I retain? How do I
Yeah.
retain? How to retain? It's like you just have better benefits. Like this isn't trigonometry. It's real simple. You spend more money and you have better benefits. And
Yeah.
what it begged the question when I read this article, this is Marsh McLennan. It's marshmma.com, and so you can kind of it's in a report. So it's in their employee health and benefits trends report that they do annually. Go and take a look at it. And so that was one of the nuggets. There's a ton
Hmm.
more, of course, but I got me to think about okay, there's a cost to turnover. There's a cost of regrettable turnover or just turnover in general. We lost a person. We have to then go and spend recruiting money. And we have training money, and it's all of that cost of that person not doing the job that while they weren't there. Also, the ramp to the get to the place where they're adding the value. Okay,
Yeah.
there's a finite cost to that. We can do
Sure.
math, and there's a finite cost to that. Has someone done the calculation of if we were to raise benefits by X% or whatever the cost is there.
What's the
Yeah,
offset? Yeah.
what's the offset? That's what have we done that? And people just haven't told us. And they're like, yeah, we're willing to deal with turnover. Turnovers, we're not going to add to the benefits cost because the benefits cost far exceeds
Yeah.
the dealing with people leaving.
Well,
And if
it's
that's
it's emotional salary, right? It's
yeah,
emotional salary, and
yep,
it's which is, and if you have more points, but actually it ties
nope,
into one of the things I wanted to talk about, which is emotional salary, and it's I labeled it emotional salary takes a back seat. So Achievers has been doing a report for 6 7 years, something like that. It's called the engagement and retention report.
right,
And so it talks about, obviously, which I'm sure you could figure out from here, engagement and retention.
yeah, yeah,
um, However, the it's compensation is obviously number one. Well, for
right,
the first time, I shouldn't say obviously. For the first
right.
time in 6 years,
Good point.
compensation is listed as the first reason. 71% of the workers,
Oh,
um,
interesting.
yeah, said compensation is like real money, not emotional, real money. Compensation is the issue because they can't budget, they can't
That's
afford to
inflation.
live. It's
Yeah,
inflation, right? And so it's a really good survey. It's a really good survey report. So check it out. It's on Achievers, but it ties into what you're talking about because, I mean, let's be real, right? Like if you just do the basic things, take care of people, recognize them, essentially give them the feels, right? Give them the love, give
right.
them the benefits, right?
Oh,
Show them that they're cared
and
and
then write
loved,
a check. Yes,
and then write a little check. Yeah. So
and make some
anyway,
money right.
what Achievers found though is if you actually can't write them a check, right, and you're just giving them the love, recognize them literally once a month, recognize
Right.
them once a month, show them a little love, give them the feels. 22, they're 20. That person's 22% more likely um, to not mention comp as their
Interesting.
number one driver. So not that they're going to stay,
Right.
but they're more likely, or 22% more likely, to not mention comp as their number one factor
See,
for leaving.
I think there's a teeter-totter here to play with because at one point, if you over-index on recognition
Yeah.
and you're spending a lot of time and energy on recognition, there is there's a portion of employees that just want more money. They
Yeah.
don't care. Okay, you got a Starbucks gift card. I did a good job on the project. Someone recognized me like that. That stuff's great, and I think it speaks to all the good things about it, doing good to work with employees and feedback and making them feel better, and us recognizing the little things as well as the big things.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's just it's just basic economics. You're doing your bills and you just don't have enough money.
I need the
You've
green,
been
baby.
recognized at work.
I
All
need the
day, every day,
green.
man. Somebody say, Bobby, you're doing a hell of a job. You're kicking,
Yeah.
that's great. But it's gotta, I think the teeter totter, people have to be paid.
Yeah.
Like you've just got to pay people and you pay them well and do the recognition. So I think if the chicken and egg is, well, let's get recognition solved for, and then let's pay people. I think flip that. In today's economy, I would probably over-index on just making sure your compensation is, You know,
Yeah.
compensation is either you're below, at, or above.
Yeah.
Those are the kind of the three options around comp. And so I would over index it at least at and maybe even above, and then I would solve the algebra of recognition. Because there's nothing worse when you can't buy gas, you can't get milk, and say stuff like that. Then you start looking at recognition as the enemy,
Yeah.
and it doesn't do the things that you want it to do. It actually works against you because it's like, yeah, I got a recognition. Thanks for the trophy. That's
Yeah.
cool. I can't make my mortgage payment
Yeah.
this month.
I love my President's Club trophy, but I still can't pay my mortgage.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
All right. So story that I want to talk to you a little bit about. We get asked this bit all the time around tools in the talent acquisition industry in particular. Ben Eubanks at Lighthouse Research and Advisory put a wonderful kind of infographic around six generative AI applications in talent acquisitions today. So go to lhra.io. That's Lighthouse Research and Advisory's website. It's brand new. It's a brand new kind of an infographic, but it explains not only the tool, but what it does, what it can do for talent acquisition.
Yeah.
So definitely go there. I don't really have a lot of analysis
Ben's
around
just
it.
a good dude. He's got some really good content out there. So
And, and
definitely check
again,
him
if
out.
we're getting asked, he's getting asked. And so he just said, okay, let me give you six tools. This is who they are. This is what you
Yeah.
can find them. Click the link. By the way, these are the things that it does, and it will help you in TA in particular.
Yeah.
So that's fantastic. Um, I got two funding news if you want to go through those real quick,
Yeah. Yeah. Let's do it.
pretty quick. So, Hello Hive is tackling hiring discrimination and more equitable hiring companies emerge. 3.4 million in a Series A. First of all, right now it's extremely hard to raise money. Super
Yeah.
hard to raise money. Super because VCs and pretty much everyone that invests is trying to figure out what AI where it plays and where to make their bets. But these folks they've been into business for a little while, and they've got great SaaS revenue, etc. And they're going to get acquired. So that's a company. When you look at something like what Hello Hive does, it begs the question: is this a product? Is it a feature? Is it a suite? Is it a part of
Mhm.
something much larger? I tend to think of plays like this as this is functionality that's going to be added to other functionality. And so it's something that will get acquired, and Series A round 3.4 million that further makes me think that it's going to get acquired. Not right away, but as they gain traction, it just makes
Right.
sense for other companies to go, I love what you've done here. Boop, let's put that in this other
Right.
thing. Boop. And so it's for people to understand the analogy. It's especially as in consolidation. It's little fish, and there's little slightly bigger fish, and a bigger fish. They just gobble each other. That's all it is. And they add that features and functions. Sometimes they're just buying the tech. Sometimes they're buying the employees. Sometimes they're buying the customers. Sometimes they're buying the brand. Like there's a reason for the
Hmm.
acquisition. And so great. Congratulations for them to be funded, by the way. It's
Yeah.
nothing like someone saying, validating your business model and saying, hey, you're doing well. We're going to give you some money for growth. The other funding story that I wanted to tell you uh, is there's a med tech startup called Samfire Neuroscience. They raised 2.3 million to tackle PMS and period pain using neurotechnology wearable. It's called Netty or Nettle. And why I thought it was important to bring this up on this barf is, first of all, PMS is a much bigger issue than one single piece of tech in HR. It affects all women.
Mm.
There isn't a woman between the ages of 13 and 50 or whatever the bit is that doesn't have to deal with this pain in the ass thing called PMS. And so I think it's a great investment. I think it's a great investment in women because it now will help you understand what's going on with your body And again, yeah, will there be work benefits or productivity benefits? I don't really even care. Quite frankly, I assume
Mhm.
there is. I'm just, assuming that if someone knows a little bit more about what's going on with their body, that yes, they will be more productive. But honestly, I don't even care if they're more productive. I just care that someone has invested and put money into something to make people's lives better,
Yeah.
women's lives better. So that's you can go. Obviously, the press release is on their website. SAMP Hire, so SAMPHIRE neuro.com.
All right.
Cool company. Like it's out of our space, so it's
Yeah.
really kind of off our radar. But once I saw PMS and pain management and through a wearable, I thought, that's cool. That's just
That is
dope.
nice. Yeah, that is nice.
Yeah.
I've got one more.
All right, bring it.
I don't know where we are in time, but I got one more.
We're good, Bar. Don't look at
So
time. Who cares?
this one is from I saw this on Workforce News AI from Mark Pfeffer.
Uh-huh.
The so AI helps employers uncover hidden themes in worker messages. Is this
Oh,
a
interesting.
thought crime? Right. So here's what's
A thought crime?
a
Did you just
thought
say thought
crime.
crime?
It's a thought crime.
On this
Uh,
episode of Dateline.
yeah. Hey, you know what? True crime podcasts go a long way, right?
Mm,
We could just do thought crime podcast. Actually, that's
dude,
not a bad idea. Thought crimes at work. I
dude.
like it. I like it. I like it. Thought crimes at
So
work. Bag it.
why?
So here's what's going on with this story, and I'll just generalize to
Yeah,
kind of
yeah,
get it out there. So companies, and we're like big companies like Walmart,
right.
Delta, T-Mobile, Starbucks, like big significant companies are using AI to analyze text and images that are shared throughout the organization.
Right.
And so the
That's
idea
fair.
here, yeah,
Well,
yeah,
there's a
yeah,
risk. There's a
yeah,
risk associated. Yeah.
exactly. And that's the idea, is that there's risk associated with that, even though they're just internal conversations. And so the risks, for those of you that are wondering: harassment,
Yep.
discrimination,
Yep.
bullying, bias in decision making, all of the
Yep.
above,
Yep.
right? And so it's really interesting. And so what's happening here is that companies are not, they're not using it to go punish people, although they probably could,
They.
right? They're using it to surface challenges or potential risks, to mitigate those risks, to understand this is where our employee population is. This is what they're thinking. This is how they're
Oh, they should
thinking.
definitely punish people. I mean,
Well,
if they're doing something
well, yeah, if they're bullying and harassing, and
right.
absolutely, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But it's interesting because then it got me thinking, well, that's like an invasion of privacy. No, it's really not. I mean, like
No, it's
you call into a call center as customer service, your call may be monitored for training and whatever. Like, you're being
yeah.
recorded everywhere. It's not Big
You
Brother
don't. If you
watching.
don't like. If you don't like that, don't work there.
Don't work there, right? Yeah. And so I think this is one to watch, because I think this is an actual
Yeah.
use case
Oh yeah.
across talent and across how we run
All of our
organizations.
productivity tools, everything,
Everything,
email, Slack,
everything.
whatever we're using. I think that the easy stuff is when someone's doing something illegal. That's
Well, yeah,
something that's
sure, sure,
super
sure.
super easy.
Yeah.
If but also, there's a commonsensical part of this that you're using work technology. And so if you're looking at pornography, if you're using the N word on Slack, like there's some basic things in here
You're an idiot.
that,
You deserve to be an idiot. Like,
yeah, it's
you're gonna
natural
get punished
selection.
like an idiot.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
and
turns
there's
out dinosaurs should have eaten you because, you're just
yeah,
a moron.
yeah.
But I think I like the insight part. So if we kind of get away from like the basic, people do bad things on our devices.
Yeah.
I like the insight in saying, hey, listen, between 3 and 5, there's more Slack messages that are happening, and here's kind of the topics of those. Large,
You're right.
largely, here's what the topics are: is they're connecting, they're talking about their weekend, they're
Right.
talking about their pets, whatever the bit is. It's like, you know what? I'd love to know that because then, like,
Yeah.
let's wrap a program around it. Let's do something and make
Yeah.
it fun.
Yeah. Well, and it's interesting. I didn't get to talk about this today. Well, I guess I will now. So
Yeah, there you go.
Salesforce, and I always mispronounce this name. Tableau.
Tableau.
Tableau. I know. I know it's gonna. I always sorry Tableau.
Hey, you're fine.
So
They shouldn't
So
have named it that way. There you
they
go.
they
You're
should
fine.
they should have spelled it Tablo.
Done.
If
Tableau.
they
Yeah.
they're doing their thing. They're not a fan of dashboards, right? And so this kind of ties into what we're talking about.
Yeah.
So dashboards are a snapshot of what happened,
Right.
not to what's going to happen, right?
Right.
And so obviously in years past, dashboard, see your results, see your metrics, human, look at it, analyze, make a decision for the future for the company, good or
Right.
bad.
Right.
Mostly probably bad, right? Because
Right.
we're humans. What they're doing now is they're working to get out of the dashboard business and surface up and bubble up trends and things that are happening to
Smart.
prevent the thing from happening before it actually happens. So to notify you, William, as
Right.
a leader in the company to say, hey, you've got an entire development department over here that's talking this way. Their sentiments in the shitter, right? Like they're bad,
Right.
they're not doing
Right.
good, or sales aren't doing so well, or the sales team doesn't have the activity that's needed
Yeah.
based on the economic conditions and based on this and what we're seeing. You're going to run into this problem over the next 2 quarters, and so
Smart.
it helps to surface that. And this is different but similar to listening in the conversations, mitigating risk, and I
Well,
just all of that.
dashboards have always had an inherent problem of what to do with the dashboard. So visibility and insight,
Right.
even though it's looking in the rearview mirror, great. Like, what am I looking at?
Yeah.
That's you
Yeah.
hear executives just kind of say,
What am I doing?
"Fantastic! Now I can
Yeah.
see it. What do I
Yeah.
do?"
PowerPoint
Whereas
makes
this
you
is
stupid. Excel makes it look pretty. The human never gets it done.
right.
Right.
But
Yeah.
if again the hope here is that not only does it give you the insight, the visibility and insight, but it tells you what you should look for. And then the
And
nudges
what to
that
do.
come is when it starts to see things in advance and tell you, oh, by the way, this is happening. Here's the recommendation engine that's tied to it. Here's three things that you can do to
Right.
change that. Like
Right.
that's powerful.
Yeah.
Super
Absolutely.
powerful.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well,
Have we barfed out?
I think so. We went over time by a bunch. So,
Eh,
but fantastic Sunday morning with you as always. Thank you all for watching and listening. Subscribe, like, share,
do the
call us,
things.
text us, do whatever you need to do. Connect with us. We'd love to talk and get your stories.